Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with award-winning mechanic and auto repair specialist, Mr. Bernie Pawlik in Vancouver, BC. How are you tonight, Bernie?
Excellent. Enjoying the beautiful rainy Vancouver weather.
Yes. So we're talking about Toyotas, which Toyotas have been top sellers for a really long time. They've got a great reliability record. So are they really all that they're supposed to be?
Yeah, absolutely. We worked on Toyota cars for years. Personally, I owned an old 1966 Toyota Crown Station Wagon. You'll have to Google it to see what it looks like. It's a pretty bizarre-looking vehicle. So we worked on them for years in all shapes and forms, from old, 1970s Toyota Corollas up to modern Corollas, Priuses, Land Cruisers, Toyota pickups. And yeah, while they're not perfect, they're very good vehicles. They deserve the reputation they've got.
So what kind of issues do you find with Toyotas?
Well, most modern Toyotas require very little work of any sort. I mean, just basic maintenance, oil changes, some fluid changes now and again, the odd brake job, which is normal on any car. Some of the more recent Toyotas, we've seen some water pump failures when the cars are 5 years old or a bit older. The water pumps seem to be a common failure item. Toyota at one time used timing belts in pretty well all their engines, but they seem to have gone away from that. So most engines don't have timing belts, so that piece of maintenance is gone. One thing, historically, Toyotas have been a little finicky for oil changes, and what I mean by that is that you need to change the oil regularly on a Toyota. You can't go long periods of time over the oil change interval. I mean, that's bad for any car, but some cars, for some reason, you can get away with them. But Toyotas, you can't. Engines get damaged. And especially a modern Toyota, they've got variable valve timing, they've got double overhead cam with timing chains. Those components are really sensitive to oil. When it gets old and dirty, it wrecks them fast, and it costs a fortune to fix. So you don't want to mess around with it. Change your oil regularly.
So there was that whole kerfuffle about the unintended acceleration issues. Whatever happened with that?
Well, first of all, there's no concern with that today. Toyota's fixed whatever issue was going on with that. And, I think it was really not as big of a problem as the media made it out to be. I think the media grabbed the story. They went crazy. They just went nuts with it, as they often do with certain things. I mean, sure, there was problems, and a few people died, sadly, but, Toyota took care of it. They fixed it. I'm not really a conspiracy theorist, but you have to wonder, about the timing of that whole issue. When the American car industry was sliding down, GM, which used to be #1 in the world, was now not #1. Toyota was #1. It just kind of makes you wonder, whether they fueled the fire. It's an interesting statistic, is that if you look at the NTHSA, which is an American Transportation Safety Authority, their report on unintended vehicle accelerations from 2002 to 2009 shows Toyota actually has very low reports, about 21,000 cars, whereas GM has 77,000, Ford has 63,000, and Chrysler has 56,000. These are all, each manufacturer is almost double or triple what Toyota had, and yet we never hear in the news anything about those American cars doing that. So it's kind of interesting, just something to think about. Yeah. So yeah, Toyotas they're great, reliable cars.
So are there any things about Toyotas that you don't like?
Well, this is probably kind of being a little nitpicky, but I mean, I do find them kind of plain. I often recommend to people, when people ask me, I want to buy a reliable car, I'll say, buy a Toyota. But I'm not that drawn to them myself. I mean, I find them kind of plain. They don't really have anything that's all that sporty. They're all kind of a little bit lackluster. They're very reliable and solidly built. In the pizzazz department, they lack a little bit, but if that's not important to you, they make really good cars. And if you're wanting to go a little more upscale, you can always look at a Lexus. I mean, they make some nice sporty cars, fancier, same Toyota reliability, just in a fancier package. And that's a subject for a future hangout.
Sure. So Toyota's big in hybrids. What do you think of them?
Well, as far as as far as hybrids go, Toyota's definitely king. They've invested a lot of money in hybrids. They made a lot of different models. They've sold a lot of them. It's a good thing that the Toyota ones are reliable, because a hybrid car is really complicated. I mean, you've got a very sophisticated gasoline engine coupled to basically an electronic transmission drive motor with all the electronic controls. And there's a lot to go wrong with them. So if you want a hybrid, you want something that's going to be really reliable, and Toyota has definitely proved itself to be. When things go wrong with a hybrid, it can be really expensive. We had a Highlander hybrid a little while ago. The inverter blew on it. $7,000, over $7,000 for the part. Fortunately for these folks, they were from the U.S., and there happens to be a recall on that particular part in the U.S., not in Canada for some reason, but in the U.S., so they got it fixed for free. But they were considering junking the vehicle because the cost was so high. So that's something that can go wrong with a hybrid, but it's extremely rare. But as time goes by, more things will happen. The other thing, if you're considering buying a hybrid, it's really important to do the math. See how much gas do you really use, because a hybrid will save you money on gas around the city, but not so much if you're doing a lot of highway driving. So you got to know what kind of driving you're doing, where you're doing it. There's a lot of other options too, like you might be better to get a TDI diesel, or in some of the Mazdas with Skyactiv technology, get really high gas mileage. There's lots of other options. So if you're thinking about hybrid, just do the math first.
Well, we've talked about this before. As a proud TDI owner, I did the math, and it was clear which one for me was the better choice. So do you have any other thoughts about Toyota?
No, really, they're great cars, and the only thing I'd say about them is they're great cars because they're built well, but they also need good maintenance. If you're looking for a great shop, we've worked on Toyotas a lot over the years. We've got a lot of expertise on Toyotas, from old simple models to modern hybrids. We keep up with all the technology. So Pawlik Automotive, we can take care of it for you. Just do your oil changes, do your maintenance, and Toyota will keep going forever and ever. That's my final thought.
Thanks a lot, Bernie. So we've been talking with voted best in Vancouver for the 12th time, Mr. Bernie Pawlik of Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, BC. You can reach them at 604-327-7112 or at their amazing website. We've had comments from as far away as Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, people raving about how good the site is. PawlikAutomotive.com. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark. We'll talk again soon.
Bet.